All right, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hey everybody, Josh Sigurdson of World Alternative Media here, and we are joined by Tim Pichote, the Liberty advisor, as well as economic analyst John Snyson. We are going to go into this insanity that we're witnessing right now on full scale. We have a very unsure election where we're dealing with the potential to go into the Supreme Court. I think the number one thing we have to focus on, though, is this isn't about who wins or loses, or it's not really just an attack on Trump. This is about a civil war that they've been planning for a long time. They want to divide people against each other. The whole purpose of this 50-50 kind of result and this voter fraud that we're witnessing across the board is to get people on both sides to attack each other, fight each other, and they'll be distracted from the real enemies, the government, and focused on attacking and killing each other. This is going to, in my opinion, 100% lead to a civil war. What kind of civil war that is the question. But I want to first go to John. I want you to go into your thoughts on how a civil war of any kind of stature or whatever, how it would affect the economy, because obviously a lot of people are already out of work. 28 million people facing homelessness in the U.S. alone, 1 in 10 in Canada as well. We are facing the same kind of situation all over the world. We also have all these businesses going under. How would, on top of everything, people clashing against each other, shooting at each other, and possibly killing each other in full combat mode affect the economy?
Well, it would lead to extraordinary amounts of currency printing. A lot of civil wars throughout time has been fueled by currency printing, and have started to just completely evaporate the value of their currencies. Like, look at the Yugoslav revolution. There was not hundreds, but there were dozens of currencies that failed after the German war. Because they printed because what you got to do, you got to get arms, you got to get anything that you can to be able to buy stuff. And how you can do that? Well, you're going to print currency into oblivion, because you're going to have to buy it, so you're going to create new units of currency, and that's how they are going to do it. I think, like, if you have a civil war also going on, there's going to be a lot of people trying to search for wealth protection and autonomy. The people that really survives throughout civil wars, I actually been asking a lot of Yugoslavians, because the guys that I work with, a lot of them comes from that region, from Bosnia, from Serbia, from Croatia. So they all told me that people that did best, of course, they had mostly they were self-sufficient. They had farms or anything that they could feed themselves, because the people that lived in the cities, they were in serious trouble. And then, of course, what they had was that the people that also really thrived, they had some gold and silver usually that actually protected them. And then at the end of it, a lot of them suddenly had value in things, or they owned real estate that they suddenly could just buy mass amounts of things after this whole thing was gone. Because what happens is you get a massive run up in the value of things, but then there's a whole bunch of assets that's going to just drop through the floor in value. And so you're going to have that huge, massive distortion with extreme overvaluation, extreme undervaluation on assets. And that's how a lot of people get really rich,
right.
Josh.
And you do see a very similar situation as far as the collapse of an empire and how that would affect the dollar. And I do want to point out that right now, as we speak, though it could change drastically by the time this video is up, is that we're witnessing Bitcoin hit $15,250. It could go up from there, it could go down from there. The point is, obviously, we are seeing a lot of people moving with uncertainty into these other currencies, as well as gold. I do want to talk a little bit about the potential of civil war as far as arms dealers, and how it could actually be good for the economy in other ways. Like we see, for example, and this isn't a good thing at all, but we see, for example, with World War II, they brought the United States out of a depression by pumping all this money, doing all this deficit spending, putting all this money into all these big arms manufacturers and propping up the banking system. I mean, how would that kind of come into play here? And by the way, if you guys are interested, Tim Pichote's streaming this on Flote live as we're doing this report, but we're also recording it. Tim, how do you think the arms manufacturers would get off on this kind of thing? Because obviously, if they actually go into a violent civil war, this could be extreme to the highest order when it comes to the amount of money being pumped into, like, deficit spending pumped into the economy.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to arms manufacturers, I mean, already right now, I mean, it's already hard to get, I mean, certain types of firearms already because there was such a demand. Ammo is scarcity as well, and so everyone should have been heeding these warnings to have this stuff ahead of time. I think that sort of goes without saying, but I don't think a civil war would even play out like. I don't, it's just like, who do you even fight this time? Because you got people that are within the states themselves. So, I mean, like Arizona, being, it's not solidly blue. If anything, there's a lot of, people that thought, Trump was too liberal and probably didn't vote for him because of that and didn't vote for Martha McSally, who's a huge, never Trumper rhino, that a lot of conservative people didn't want to vote for her. So I wouldn't necessarily say like, but a place like Arizona, is are the liberals going to come after us with their dildos and bongs while like all the conservatives have
Well, I
guns? I mean,
think
what's
a good point, but I do think that there might be a kind of a similarity with not necessarily like the previous Civil War, though it could be like red versus blue. Unfortunately, that's again the case where people fight for their form of government rather than fight against the government that's doing all this stuff to them. But it could be more like the IRA, for example, in Ireland and Britain and Scotland and Wales, and like these attacks more.
Yeah, guerrilla warfare. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, what do you think about that?
I mean, that's all the more case to being, self-sufficient and being out in the country and not being in, one of these, Democratic run, hellholes. I think that's gonna be where the worst. So if you're in New York City, I mean, they got, the NYPD's got a pretty strong grip on there, and there's hardly anybody with guns in New York City. So maybe, but I wouldn't want to be in Chicago or New York City or LA or any one of these major places. And even, I don't even like being on the outskirts of Phoenix right now. And you've been to my place, know that I'm, pretty far away from Phoenix, but I don't like how there's still, a lot of houses in like around me right now, and I don't necessarily like my situation. So, there's people that probably have a lot worse situation than me. I mean, at least in Phoenix, there's probably about 3 million people that have a worse situation than me, who are all, in a much, more congregated areas. So, it's, we're going to see, probably a shifting in real estate, but then you're probably going to see the government try to shut down roads to get out to the rural areas. I mean, we've seen, originally it was Agenda 2020, and then it got pushed back to Agenda 2030. And we saw different, what is it, FEMA regions that they had where they were showing, I forgot the exact maps, but, they were showing how these different rural roads would be cut off and travel would be cut off. And I see that, potentially happening. And I see supply chain disruptions and starvation and, it's very hard to see how it's going to shake out. I mean, I recently also bought a generator. I mean, just, will I need the generator tomorrow? I don't know, probably not. But will I need it sometime in the next 10 years? Probably. So,
Don't forget a camping toilet, Tim.
And a camping toilet. So when shit hits the fan, and buttons and portable fans too. Guess what? If you're in Arizona and it's hot as hell here, it'd be nice to have a fan. So and I'm looking at maybe getting even portable heaters and portable coolers and all sorts of different things. Because if I'd rather at least be comfortable when the world's going down. And I'm not advocating for violence, and I'm not even advocating picking a side, because you've got two sides that are each, as you were pointing out, want to be ruled by somebody else. And I also want to, as you mentioned, we are streaming on Flote. I'm /at the Liberty Advisor. If you guys are watching this on BitChute or Odysee and want to find out a place to get this live, because I could go live to YouTube. I just need to click a button over here. But fuck YouTube. Like, why am I going to go prioritize being on YouTube? You should be on our email list, be on our text list, be on other platforms. But this is not going to be a normal type civil war, but it's if anything, I mean, I do have a Make Anarchy Great Again shirt on right now for those of you listening to us, and it's people are having distrust in government, but unfortunately they still, like, even my mom yesterday is like, oh, and they want anarchy. I'm like, Mom, anarchy does not mean chaos. It means without rulers. But anyways, I get, I take the point.
What's bigger chaos than the guys that killed millions of people? I mean, that's chaos. I mean, this organized chaos, which is really what this whole thing is. They've divided people against each other in the media for years. They've been working very hard for a long time to ensure that people would be primed for this exact situation. Of course, if you want to become a client to Tim Picciotto, you can go to thelibertyadvisor.com. Make sure to check out Tim. You can become a client. He's a certified financial planner. I want to go to you, John, to talk a little bit about, again, these alternative currencies. People are moving over to Bitcoin. People are moving over to gold and silver, and people seem to be protecting themselves. Even like it's crazy that it's taken this long. It literally takes the last moment before complete all-out insanity. I mean, we're kind of already there. But what do you think about like the future of things like Bitcoin and the future of things like cryptocurrencies in general, as well as gold and silver in this kind of environment? And of course, for legal means, none of this is investment advice, just our opinion. But what do you think, John?
No, this is so important, Josh. Right now, you have the central banks coming out left, right, and center. You had Bahamas just launched the world's first central bank digital currency. They're going to come a lot more, and what you're going to see with that is total surveillance state, and you're going to lose all the control of your assets. With that, and so what you need to do is you need to find those alternative assets, and you can find them in a lot of different cryptocurrencies. I think especially the anonymous cryptocurrencies like Monero, Mimblewimble, and a whole wide array of others that are trying to be in that field. Yeah, that the IRS was trying to like give out
Epic
a
cash.
whole bunch of money to get it hacked.
Mhm.
Which like who would want to hack something for that little amount of money? That's just stupid. But that's
Yeah.
just the government. No, I think we're going to see a lot of that. People are going to try to levitate towards alternative means of value, because what you're going to see is the local currencies here in Canada. They're talking about 6 to 8% official inflation now in groceries this year. So you're actually seeing that heavily hit. Like people are insane to believe that all the massive money printing, especially here in Canada, is just like utterly insane. The central bank's balance sheet is up 1,053% since 2008. The central bank and Tim McClellan came out and said that, oh, we're going to keep interest rates at 0 until 2023. So go out and get to yourself that new new car and get that renovation going, because we're going to keep interest rates to keep this bubble afloat. He didn't say the last part, but that's what it's all about. So they're going to keep on, pushing more and more currency printing, and it's very important that you try to find those alternatives. It could be use your hours. I'm actually consulting with people right now that are trying to find alternative ways of finding value and trust, because when the trust links are broken in the actual currency system, that is game over right away, and it'll happen
Right.
very fast. People do not understand that when a trust in a currency's value really breaks, it takes just under a year to 6 months usually for it to fail. Actually, just off the topic here, just quickly, I don't know if we were talking about civil war. Did you guys see Ken O'Keefe putting out his video message last night?
Who's
No, I
Ken
heard, I
O'Keefe?
saw something about it. Someone sent me
It
the
is.
message.
It is
Like the
insane. He
project,
actually
like the
came out
project, the
and
Project Veritas guy, or is that somebody else?
no,
No,
that's
Ken
James O'Keefe.
Okay.
Ken O'Keefe, he's I've watched him a couple of times. He's
Which I saw
pretty
one of his
crazy,
videos
man.
yesterday too.
But
So
he's like
just
a Second Amendment guy, and he came out like on YouTube. I was just like sitting there, I was like, holy smokes, did this guy say that? He said like, I'm picking up arms, I'm going to Pennsylvania, I'm not letting that pedophile get into office. That's
Okay,
what
but
he
this is
said.
the thing, though. This is where it distracts
Yeah,
people so much,
yeah,
and it really drives me crazy, because
yeah,
you have this issue of
uh-huh,
who's a slave master, and it really kind of just it really encapsulates what this is all about
oh
and
for
what
sure,
it's led to be, because they have clashed people from the Trump and Biden side
yeah.
against Trump and Clinton, left and right, populist versus non-populist, establishmentarianists, etc. I do want to ask you, Tim, about your thoughts on, if is there going to be a significant difference for the economy or the stock market overall, whether it be Biden or Trump? Because a lot of people like to LARP and like to talk and go on about how Trump's bringing manufacturing back. True, in a lot of ways. But with that said, there's still crazy amounts of printing at the Federal Reserve, crazy debt. There's a lot of really socialist policies, nonetheless, because there's people behind closed doors that really make all these decisions, not the president. So I wanted to hear your thoughts as a certified financial planner, obviously having to research this and face this stuff as it surrounds us, on what the difference would be whether Biden or Trump is the actual president on the economy and stock market.
yeah. First off, nobody should trust me just because I'm a certified financial planner, because most of them know nothing about all the stuff that we're talking about right now, anyways. But and then with that said, also make an important distinction that the economy and stock market are not synonyms, or not the same thing. I know both of you guys know that, and a lot of our listeners know that. And and John and I were talking in our last Tim and John show about JP Morgan says, oh, why it was something along the lines of, it might even have the article. I think I just got out of it, but it was something along the lines of why the shutdowns are great for the stock market and economy. Because if the shutdown's great, then it means you're going to be printing more money, and then more of that money will, find its way to the big mega corporations like, the Amazons and Walmarts and of the world, and Apples of the world. And so they're painting the picture of why that's a good thing. And so I think that you could have a situation where the economy itself, that you could have, tens of millions of people. Well, it's basically not could, like we're already there. You'd have tens of millions of people unemployed, but yet having the stock market hitting all-time highs. We see, the market was up big today, up big yesterday, basically wiped out all the losses from last week. And at this point, we're in this crazy land where obviously if Biden gets in, it's going to be more taxes, more regulation. In Arizona, they basically doubled the top rate, yesterday or 2 days ago during this election. And now, but it's just whether or not the taxes and regulation is going to be outstripped by the government just printing a crap load of money. And but either way, I think that's not investment advice, but I think that'd be good for Bitcoin as we're, sitting right around 15,000. It was up a little bit more than 15 earlier, 15, 225 or 250, something like that. And then right now it's just underneath it. But
by the way, Iran, remember we're talking about Iran. It's actually the central bank is now using Bitcoin as a medium of transaction.
And if you guys want to find
like
out more
on their
about
reserve
that,
account, Bitcoin
and you guys,
reserves.
And check out the latest Tim and John show for more information on that. You got to sell the sizzle, John, not the steaks. So you got to let them have a reason to go watch the other episodes.
And obviously, people should check the links below the video as well. We got a lot going up lately. But I want to kind of close it off by hearing your thoughts going forward. How do you predict, in your opinion, the next week goes? And not just for the economy or anything, but as far as the election goes, what do you think is going to happen? Again, for this battle for who your slave master is. I'll start with Tim, and then we'll go to John.
Well, they just legalized weed here, so it's going to be going good no matter how, But anyways, I think what's going to happen is you're going to see this massive division where no matter who's slave master, finally at the end of the day, or probably not at the end of the day, probably end of whenever it goes to the Supreme Court, no one's going to accept the victor. There's going to be whatever fake news, propaganda, BS that was going on before is probably gonna be amped up times 11, because now you don't even have the alternative media out there to point this stuff out, because we've all been shadow banned. I mean, I get literally 0 people watching this on Facebook right now, even though it's shared to all sorts of people, and it's just ridiculous because we had the ability to get this real information out in 2016, in 2015, really just about those 2 years when it was really good, at least in some of these alternative media platforms or social media platforms. Now it's been stripped, and most Republicans, guess what? If you guys would have heeded our warnings, even though we're not Republicans up here, and you would have stopped the censorship, then maybe this election wouldn't have been stolen from you as so easily. If you would have heeded our warnings about things like that I've been talking about, fraction magic when it comes to elections, if you embrace, not that I want to legitimize elections, but having blockchain voting or having different ways to verify the vote, this all could have been stopped. But no, you guys were all too busy circle jerking each other and giving your 96-mile long Trump parades around the 101 and Phoenix.
Yeah, assuming that they're not going to learn from the 2016 election and be prepared and completely manipulate it. Because I mean, the fraud is so obvious. I mean, we've seen the evidence out of Michigan and Wisconsin. It's so ridiculous. Suddenly 100,000 votes in 1 second in the middle of the night after they say they're not counting votes anymore. Exactly as Trump said in his speech before that happened. He said at 3 a.m. they're going to add a bunch of random votes in the middle of the night. And exactly 1 hour after he did that speech, the chart goes way out through the roof. You could see our recent videos to see that chart. I'm not editing this video. We're just kind of getting it together as fast as we can. But I mean, it's so obvious that voter manipulation. James O'Keefe has been proving that on Project Veritas, which keeps getting shut down from the search bar on Twitter. And Trump's own tweets are being censored, so you can't share them or like them. I mean, this is insanity, folks. They're trying to drive us against each other so we get violent and attack each other. And it's going to happen in multiple different factions all over the country. John, what do you think happens coming up in the next week or so?
No, it's going to be a contested election. I said that 2 months ago, and it still is going to happen. They're going to draw this out in courts until the end. Who knows? We might even have Nancy Pelosi as the president potentially. That should that'd be interesting.
Free
That's
Adderall for everyone.
Yeah, exactly. No, that'd be just beyond insane. But I think, that's what they're gonna keep on doing. Of course, they drag this. So with media, when you go and look at media, I was at a hotel just recently, having to be there. There's nothing else, and I didn't want to use up all my bandwidth on my phone, so I took a little look at different media, and it's just constant anti-Trump. And do you wonder why 50% of people that voted for Trump? Basically, it's it's because they actually see through that Like everybody's anti-Trump, so they get manipulated to vote for Trump because, well, that guy is like getting vilified. He must be doing something right. People are waking up.
We need to take our country back, and we need to restore freedoms. I'm like, what? I'm like, and vote Trump. I'm like, he's already in there. Like, how come we didn't already take it back and restore the freedoms?
Vote for government to give you back the freedoms that they took away. Please, government, you stole our
freedoms.
Yeah,
when did that ever happen? Yeah, when did we ever get a freedom back that the government stole from us? Like, good luck with that. Like that,
unless they get it back at a price like legalization or something like that. Like in Canada, when they legalize weed, they're like, "We're going to take this right away. Actually, we'll give it back to you at a price." That price being extortion, terrible product.
And didn't the Canadian government lose money selling weed? Like they can't even make money selling drugs. I mean, how does the Canadian government manage to even lose money selling weed?
When
they can't even do that right.
Canada high school. I mean, when a 15-year-old can make a bunch of money, make big cash. I'm not advocating
allegedly,
but they make big cash at a high school. But the government loses money selling weed. Really says all you need to know.
But they have a monopoly on. Oh, it looks like we're frozen. Is it my internet? Ah, damn it. Okay, it looks like we got a little bit of dead air. So Josh is
no. Yeah, we're good.
Okay, we're back. We're back.
Okay, yeah. I could hear you the whole time. I don't know what happened, but anyway, as long as we're still recording, I want to point out that it's an us versus them kind of scenario. What we have here is the the media propping it up, and J. Edward Griffin put this very well in an interview with us recently, which he basically said what they'll basically do is they will make the left so ridiculous that no one with two brain cells to rub together could possibly, with any rationality, support them. So they'll have to support the other side. I don't support Trump personally, and I'm certainly not on the left, but I certainly don't support Trump because I don't support being led. I don't believe in ruling my neighbor, extorting my neighbor for the greater good of me, or whatever ideas, stupid, dumb ideas I have. I think it's a loser, pathetic way to live life and makes people dependent and stupid. But with that said, when you see this kind of attack against Trump, it's like it makes me end up having to defend him because it's like the lies are so clear cut and obvious. So, I mean, going forward, we can't fall for those tricks. It is bread and circuses, but we should always defend the truth, no matter whose side wins with the truth. It's not about sides, it's about the truth. And at the end of the day, the truth shall always prevail, and we should always prevail with the truth. So anyway, I really appreciate you guys going into this. I hate to cut it short, but I want to make sure I can get this video up tonight. So make sure, guys, to hit the like button, go and hit the notification bell on BitChute and go to your settings and click notifications and have it sent, the notification sent to your email so you can get updates from us. Make sure to find us on LBRY and BitChute as well, or LBRY and Flote.app as well, which this stream was originally streaming live on Flote.app, flote.app. And of course, we're completely viewer funded, so GoFundMe, Patreon, Subscribe Star. We have a Bitcoin address as well as a CoinTree link, which allows you to send all different kinds of cryptocurrency, as well as join our newsletter at www.iamband.com. Of course, check out Tim Pichote on BitChute at the Liberty Advisor. Tim and John, give us ideas of where everyone could go and find more of your stuff.
Yeah, the libertyadvisorshow.com has everything for media, and then the libertyadvisor.com. So one's the Liberty Advisor Show, one's the Liberty Advisor. Liberty Advisors, all the regular financial planning stuff, which I do have new videos. I re-updated that website. And then the Liberty Advisor Show is all the media places, all the places you can find all of our content.
Yeah, and you can find me at theeconomictruth.org. And of course, you can find my books there as well. Or if you want to go to the scumbag Amazon, you can buy them there. It's The End of Freedom, How Our Monetary System Enslaves Us. We're actually predicted several of the outcomes that we have currently seen in the global economy. And then the Canada, the Greatest Economy in the World, question mark, where I literally went into the chaos that we're in today. And few listen, but some listen and have actually been protecting themselves throughout this crisis.
Remember, my friends, good ideas do not require force. You do not have a right over your neighbor's money. Rule yourself, be voluntary, be self-sustainable. Things we've said for a long time, they've all come true. And that's why we were deleted from YouTube. And I've recently just been banned from Facebook as well. So you can find me as L Josho on Facebook right now. I have a little mustache, great disguise. Anyway, no, I mean, sorry, it's my long lost Mexican brother. Anyway, I really appreciate everyone watching today, and we'll be back with you guys with much more. Comment below and share this video around on different social medias if you're even allowed to anymore, because most of these links are banned. But nonetheless, it really gives more credit to everything we said when we've been so deplatformed. Anyway, I appreciate everyone watching today, and until next time, this is Josh Sigurdson, Tim Pichote, and John Snyson signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change.